And welcome into our overtime segment here on SportsSource.tv. You'll see it's brought to you by Jinx Logos. That's right there on the screen. And they did our Sports Source shirts right there. Nobody better than Jinx Logos. Call them for your business, for your school. They can come up with any kind of item at a great price. Okay. This week, Gary Parrish of CBSSports.com wrote a piece on Cuonzo Martin's move to California. Once again, Tennessee was left with a bit of a black eye over the petition. Martin told Parrish that his players were telling him at the end it's time for him to roll, and Martin said it was time for me to go. I think everybody knew it was time for me to go. Parrish wrote, "The only silly thing would have been if Martin wasn't looking for a new home given everything he had been dealing with at UT, like crazy criticism from fans, prominent boosters working against him in tangible ways, and yes, that online petition. By any reasonable measuring stick, Cuonzo Martin was doing fine." Parrish also wrote that, quote, "Lots and lots of people, quite frankly, think the color of his skin was an issue." He also quoted a Jarnell Stokes trainer who had come to Knoxville and was at the area at the local Ruth's Chris and was listening to three guys at the bar badmouth Cuonzo Martin. Jarnell Stokes walks in. They say, "Hey, Jarnell, we're pulling for you." And the booster, the trainer, Jarnell Stokes, jumped in and said, "No, you're not. I just listened to you for 10 minutes talk about how you're going to get rid of Coach Martin." He said they were as red-faced as they could be. Is this it? Here's the question. Is this it? Does the way UT treated Martin end once hoops season starts? Is that gone? Or is this going to come up every time Martin has a successful season? Every time Tyndall struggles? Are we to the point that this petition thing is about to be buried, or will it continue to come up?
Go ahead.
I was going to say that with some people it will come up depending on what happens. You just touched on it. If Cuonzo goes out there and wins 24 games and Tennessee wins 8, then there'll be some people, see, I told you, from the Cuonzo camp. So I think depending on what happens, it's not dead, in my opinion.
And I was going to say, though, I think it'll be on a sliding scale of dying. I think next year, like you said, if Cuonzo has a good year, Tennessee doesn't, yes, it comes back up and it's terrible, but then the next year it dies a little bit more and it dies a little bit more. Now, part of that's also dependent on Donnie Tyndall. If the Tennessee doesn't win and he's gone in 3 years, then then you live with it for a lot longer than I think you probably will.
All right, Chuck, let me go here with you. Cuonzo Martin was classy as usual. He said the fan base got used to Bruce, and then they brought in somebody opposite of Bruce, and it was hard. But I think Donnie can just be Donnie. The slate is clean. Is it a clean slate for Donnie Tyndall with Bruce Pearl now coaching at Auburn?
No. You still have that same faction that still wishes he was the head coach. And that's going to be there for a while. And you talking about Cuonzo, I still wish Tennessee would have handled that whole online petition different. We've talked about that.
It was written about in the Gary Parrish thing. Why didn't they ever come out and say
I know I've said that a dozen times. Yeah. And the other thing is, too, I really don't like seeing Cuonzo play the race card because
he didn't.
I thought he said
Gary
about
Parrish did.
The color of the skin.
That's Gary Parrish said lots and lots of people, quite frankly, think the color of his skin was an issue. And he said, I think a lot of this, I think a little of all of these things played a part, meaning that was one of the things. So he believes that was a part of it.
I don't really.
Cuonzo never said that.
I didn't get that impression from the people.
Oh, I've heard people make comments, Chuck. You mean to tell me in 3 years you never heard anybody make any kind of racial crack about Cuonzo Martin?
Out of the ordinary. There's going to be some comments, but I don't think it was enough to where it was part of the issue. I think it was more about coaching. It was more about his perception in public, the totally different from Bruce Pearl. Yeah,
okay.
But I never really thought it was a racial thing at all.
I think with some people, race did play an issue with some people.
I do too. But I'll just say this on Cuonzo too. It's interesting. He could have gone to Marquette. At least he told me that, and didn't. And so there's an agreement he's staying. And the whole reason that he told me repeatedly is that buyout was setting him up to fire him. I said, well, what did you agree to? He said, I agreed to what I thought was going to be a fair contract, and I didn't get one. That was what he felt like, and that's why he started looking again. He ended up in California. But I don't think there was a race issue that led him to leave. I think it was a contract issue.
Right. Oh, I agree. I think what Parrish
was
saying,
a part of that.
Yeah, Parrish was writing that there were issues that hurt Cuonzo Martin's acceptance factor in Knoxville, and he said race was one of them. He said he was hurt by lots and lots of people. I don't know what that means. It's up to Gary Parrish. But I can tell you, I heard things. I heard cracks. You look on Twitter, you see cracks. They're there, so you can deny it. They're there. There
were some people called on our radio show that did the same thing with the racial stuff.
Yeah, so And you may have that everywhere.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I wouldn't want it anywhere. If that played any kind of role in people not liking him because of the color of his skin, those people are
Well,
dumb.
I guess that's pretty much what I was saying. You know.
Okay. But here we talk about that petition again. It's back in the national news. But for all the Lane Kiffin overreaction when that happened, the self-inflicted wound of the petition, Alabama is determined to one-up Tennessee. This is a good thing. You had the idiot Harvey Updike who poisoned a tree. You had the man who, for lack of a better word, he was sexually assaulted an LSU fan with a gesture. I'm not even going to describe it online. You can look it up. It's on YouTube. Now you have an idiot Alabama fan who theirs are individual moves, but they're really big individual moves. You got an Alabama fan who is working as a construction worker at Kyle Field on their expansion project at Texas A&M. He puts an Alabama flag in the stadium. Yeah, that's smart. So they fire him, of course. What kind of fool would do that? He goes to Facebook, apparently the kind of fool who would then go to Facebook and say, quote, "If you ever attend a Texas A&M football game, don't sit in the northeast end zone. It was raining today, and I made 2 very questionable welds." He also added, "This stadium will never be ready for this season. I'm putting iron in backward and wrong-holing everything. Inspectors say all the rivets and the welds are fine. But to me, this qualifies as terrorism. You were trying to scare thousands of people. You're making a threat. I think he should go to jail, and he should be the one that's wrong-holed."
Oh.
I will say that online. Thoughts on this embassy?
I mean that is a threat. That is an assault, and it's an assault on thousands of people. And yeah, I would have no problem with him going to jail over that.
Or as we
Or
said,
at least
also,
being brought in and questioned.
Yeah, scare the
probably
devil
hit
out
with
of
a hose.
Yeah. He's the one that needs to be on the hot seat, and heaven forbid something were to happen. Can you imagine the liability and what would happen then?
What do you think about an idiot doing that? Is it just one idiot, or I think I take that a little bit more seriously because you're threatening that you have, put the integrity of a stadium.
Well, I've got the solution. Harvey Updike should poison him.
That's it. That's it.
There you go.
If Toomer's Oaks were still there, they could string him up from them.
There you go.
You're gone. All right. Thanks for joining us on Overtime. We'll see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. on Channel 6 for the Sports Source.